In this lesson, we will look at the orientation and coordinate system of a lathe part compared to a mill part. So you can see right now on my screen, I have no parts open. Let's take a look at what I have my view display set for. So you can see I have both show axes and show gnomons on. If I take a look at what I have on in show axes, I have on just world. So I'll shut it off so you can see what it looks like. So it shows the gray set of crosshairs to represent the MasterCAM world. Now in relation to MasterCAM world, I also have this gnomon in the bottom left hand corner. Now this gnomon will never change. I am going to show you how we're going to overlay it in a minute here. But MasterCAM world never changes regardless of where your planes are or where your WCS is. Everything is in relation to MasterCAM world. So I'll put this world axis back on. Now in show gnomons, I have the WCS turned on. I'll turn it off. You can see it. I can turn on C-plane, which turns on underneath the WCS. Same with T-plane. Now I do have display C-plane and T-plane in corners, which is what you're seeing here. There's my C for C-plane, and there's my T for T-plane. So this is a nice view to have on when you work in more complicated areas in MasterCAM. So I wanted to show this on a mill part. So I'm going to open up a mill 3-axis part. You can see I've got a machine group set up here for it, and I've got a tool path on it. If I backplot that tool path just so we know what it looks like, we can see our tool coming down in the Z-axis here. We can see our XY axes on the table, and that's a standard mill setup. And we're in top, so my WCS is in top. My C-plane and my T-plane are both in top. Everything matches MasterCAM world in this case. So let's look at a lathe part. So I'll go to this view sheet here. I've got a lathe part in. And I want to bring in a lathe machine to see what happens. So we'll take a look at the planes we have over here, currently in our plane manager. I'm going to come up to lathe and select the default machine. So now I have two machine groups inside of this part file. But you'll also notice that I have a lathe Z is equal to world Z, and I have a plus D plus Z that come in as a plane. So both of these were created specifically for lathe. This was created for a VTL style lathe. I'll go ahead and click on that. And I have the plus D plus Z, which was created for a standard horizontal lathe. So you'll notice when I select plus D plus Z in the bottom left hand corner that my gnomon in the bottom left hand corner is changing. You'll also notice that my part is oriented differently. So there's my part, there's my Z axis here, here's my part, and here's my Z axis. So one of the points I wanted to make here is that in MasterCAM world, which we're seeing on the WCS right here, or we can go back to the top view and see it, our X is our Z on our lathe. Our MasterCAM world Y is going to be our X on our lathe, or our D diameter, and that's what that plus D plus Z system does. And then I've got Z, which is going to be the Y axis on the lathe if we have it. So let me come back down to plus D plus Z, and you can see that my Z axis is along my X axis. You can see my C plane did update, so that's following along. You can see my T plane did not update. So the other thing that's important to show in regards to what we're showing inside of lathe is how we're managing what gets turned on and off. So if I come over to my planes, you'll see the rules I have set up. So currently my T-plane follows my C-plane, which is fairly normal. And my C-plane is equal to top in ISO view is turned off. Sometimes you might find that on So if I go back to plus D plus Z with that on, and then I go to ISO view, you see it changes over automatically. So let me go back to plus D plus Z. So this is what I wanted to show, is the interaction between MasterCam world coordinates, which is down here in the left-hand corner, and this specially created plane or system for lathe, which puts the Z-axis along the X-axis and creates a D-axis for diameter along MasterCam World Y.